Okay, let me be like this.
What's up, guys? So this is the Christian next door here, and today I'm gonna be interviewing the man who formulated the drug for breast cancer. So just to start, how are you, my guy?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm also good. I'm also good. So can you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself? You know, your name, where you're from, the course that you're doing.
I'm Emmanuel Kiyonga. Originally born in Uganda, but I grew up here in South Africa, and I'm a scientist, a pharmacist by profession. I'm currently pursuing my PhD in pharmacy, and yeah, I'm an innovator and an inventor, and I'm also a Christian, born again Christian.
Okay. And so about your course, I want to ask some few questions, and there's like a lot of questions here. Not a lot, but
take your time.
All of them. So, have you always wanted to do this course of yours? And if yes, what was your motivation? And if no, what changed your mind to want to do it? And can you tell us the story of how you finally got into the course? Because I heard you mention that you're not always doing pharmacy.
Yeah.
And so, can you please fill us in on that?
Yeah, initially, to be honest, it was really not something I wanted to do, majorly because I didn't know what it was all about. After high school, I did my first degree, was Bachelor's of Science in Occupational and Mental Health. I had intended to do medicine, and that's why I came to Medunsa. But over time, while I was studying my BSc, I got to realize that there is more to healthcare than just medicine, becoming a doctor. And there are other ways of becoming a doctor. My main pursuit into studying pharmacy was an inspiration by a pharmacist final year student who met us with my colleagues on SMU, and then they started to explain what is pharmacy. Because what comes in the minds of people when you ask them what is pharmacy is someone who sells medication, maybe at clinics. But she explained that it's a broad profession. There are people who make drugs, they formulate drugs. There are people who sell drugs. There are people who regulate drugs. So there are also different branches of pharmacy. There's industrial pharmacists, there's hospital pharmacists, the retail pharmacists are those who find in clinics and discounts. Then there's radio pharmacists, clinical pharmacists. So it's a broad industry. So it captured me to want to join the pharmaceutical industry, majorly focusing on the need to make drugs. I wanted to learn, how do I make a drug from scratch? And that's the main reason why I joined pharmacy and why I decided to study it even further to this stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's great. And speaking of amazing, can you please talk about the drug? And in case you guys didn't know, this is the guy who formulated the drug that can cure breast cancer. And so can you please tell us about that? Like, how did you start, and what was your motivation? And what are the challenges that you faced? And if you're working with people, who are you working with?
Okay, thank you for that question. The drug was derived from raloxifene, which is a SEM, selective estrogen receptor modulator. It's a drug on the market that they use to modulate the cells or the levels of estrogen in the breasts. So my drug was synthesized from that primary API, where we added it with amino acids, and we screened multiple amino acids to see which one can form hydrogen bond, especially on the nitrogen side there, with the aim of improving solubility and dissolution and bioavailability. Now, bioavailability in simple terms is the amount of drug which reaches the systemic circulation. If you can improve bioavailability, you can increase the efficacy of the drug. So that was the idea behind. And while we were synthesizing and screening, combining it with so many drugs and so many co-formers, we came up with this, I call it a scientific miracle, where you cannot even to this stage, we cannot explain how some of the molecules disappeared in thin air, because we combined the drug with an amino acid, and this drug was a salt, and we cannot find where the salt went. We cannot find where the amino acid went. We cannot explain the color change. I mean, the drug is golden. When you look at it, it's a golden color, but you cannot explain where the golden color came from. It's a hydrate, which means there could be a water molecule. There is a water molecule incorporated in the crystal lattice, but we cannot even explain where this water molecule came from. That's why I call it a scientific miracle. And we've improved, of course, physical chemical properties. Melting point is around 129. That speaks highly on the performance of the drug. It's been a tough journey to get there because I used to sleep in this lab, as you can see it. It's not a highly facilitated lab. I used to bring my blanket here, spend the whole week. I just come, work, go home, take a shower, come back, work. It came with a lot of challenges as well because I was also having my personal struggles. I was a student who struggles financially. I never been funded academically. I never got any bursary. So it's a project which was not even funded by anyone, which is why I call it a scientific miracle, because this was God in action. From the funding of my studies to the discovery of the drug, it was all God. So it's been a tough journey, challenging, but there has been offices within the university which played a critical role. For example, there's the Technology Transfer Office in our institution, which is responsible for identifying talent and protecting that talent. So while I was presenting at the SME Research Day, which I won, I was the best overall presenter with the best presentation, they approached me and they said, no, we've heard about your presentation of this new drug. Why don't you come and we protect it? And then they approached me, they filed for the patent, the patent was successful, and then they assisted me to apply for extra funding from the Technology Innovation Agency of South Africa, TIA. And TIA funded me 650,000. Now with that money, I managed to do some of the critical studies which are needed to back up the claim of the treatment of breast cancer and osteoporosis, which this drug does. So at this stage, we are now at the preclinical trials. We are setting up for clinical trials and regulatory approval. We've filed for PCT application. Those who are in intellectual property, they know what that means. It means the patent is now going to be international. The drug is going to be protected international, and we're soon approaching the markets for commercialization. Along the journey as well, the drug has won multiple awards, such as the APSA Young Scientist Award. The drug has won the EDHE Award, the Entrepreneurship Development of Higher Education, which was the top business entrepreneur. We won our category in the overall presentation competition. So yes, the drug is almost ready for commercialization. I just want to tell the public out there to hold on a bit. Let them rally behind me so that we garner up funding, so that we accelerate the release of this drug, because it costs money to do research, it costs money to release the drug onto the market.
That's so amazing. I only understood some part, but I watched the video to get it. Okay. And I think you answered my next question, but I'm gonna ask the question from that. Like, what was your motivation to start formulating this drug? What was your
motivation? Brilliant question. Actually, that's the most important question. What motivated me? The Bible says that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has it crossed the imagination of man, that which God has set up for his children. There are things which are hidden, and there is knowledge which is hidden. And for me as a Christian, I was always looking at, because the Bible says we are heads and not tails, and we are the light of this world. Whatever solution that is out there, it's going to come from us, the children of the Most High. And so what motivated me was the statistics of cancer. Cancer is the leading cause of death globally. It kills over, in 2022 alone, it killed 10 million people. 2023, that was 9.7 million people who died, million people. Now, breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer-related deaths. We're talking 670,000 deaths happening between in 2022. Now, these are very high statistics. If you go to now osteoporosis, you talk of 200 million people affected globally, and this number will rise to up to 350 in the next 5 years if we don't do something about it. Now, as a researcher, we're always guided by a niche. There must be a gap in society which you're trying to, a problem you're trying to solve. And this is what motivated me to say this number cannot continue to skyrocket. And just to be honest, most of us have been affected by cancer, either by a family member or a friend or someone you know who is busy, who is affected by cancer, and they're there is a potential for them to probably die, God forbid, but it motivates you to do something about it. And as a researcher, as a scientist, we grew up them telling us that we are the solution of the world, right? Why don't we then do something to stop this? Hence, I chose to focus on cancer, because initially my study was on malaria at Overcon, but since there is a vaccine and treatments for malaria, I decided to switch to cancer, because cancer is the leading cause of death globally. And if we were to find a solution somehow, we would have improved quality of life, we would have saved lives. And this is the key motivator for me to pursue this particular invention of this drug. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I heard you speaking about the pharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
And on one of your TikToks, I saw that you have your own pharmaceutical company called Pharmaceutics.
Yes, yes.
And so can you tell us more about that? Like, when did you start? How did you start? And why you started it? What is the future direction?
Thank you for that question. Yes, I'm the CEO of Pharmaceutics. It's a new company. The idea behind the company was, after inventing this drug, I got a lot of publicity. And if you can check online, most of the comments there are, rest in peace in advance, they're gonna kill him, the pharmaceutical companies are coming after him. You've seen most of those comments. So I decided to say no, for my own protection and for the protection of the idea. It's best that this drug is, or these ideas of drug invention, because it's not the only drug which I'm working on. I'm working on various drugs. Let's protect this idea under a company. In case someone, let's say, eliminates me, the drugs or the ideas we have, they still continue. Also, at a business perspective, people prefer to work with a company than with an individual. Also, on the basis that the company is going to create jobs. I mean, what's the point of inventing something which is not going to generate income? By generating income, you must be able to add to the economy. You must be able to create jobs. So that's the idea behind Pharmaceutics. Pharmaceutics is a pharmaceutical company. It's still at its initial stage. We're still building it, garnering investment, speaking to investors. But it's a pharmaceutical company which deals with innovative pharmaceutical formulations. So if there is, let's say, a disease out there which they claim does not have any treatment, that's where we come in. We study, we do research, we try to formulate novel drugs, we protect them, we commercialize them, we release them to the market. That's the idea behind Pharmaceutics. Also, this knowledge, this skill which I've invented to create these drug formulations, it shouldn't die with me. We should be able to transfer the skill. So this is where the idea of Pharmaceutics comes from. It's going to be a company which is going to transfer knowledge. We're going to train people. We're going to formulate new drug formulations. We're going to be a special kind of pharmaceutical company which focuses on delivering healthcare solutions to the public at an affordable price. Because most pharmaceutical companies out there, they focus more on the business aspect of making profit instead of changing the livelihoods of our people. So Pharmaceutics is a pharmaceutical company which is going to focus on the livelihoods of our people. Even the poorest of the poorest must be able to access some of these highly innovative technologies. For example, my drug, one of the key aspects about this new drug of breast cancer treatment, it's going to be affordable. And if it's not affordable, I will not accept it. The drug must be affordable. Everyone who is affected by these cancers, they must be able to treat with these drugs. So Pharmaceutics is an idea which comes, a company which comes from that background of an idea. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
Thank you.
That's really amazing. I can't wait. I want to be part of that.
Thank you.
So, what about the students? Like, what do you want to do for the students? What kind of example do you want to leave for the students?
Yes. You mean students at SMU or global?
You can start SMU.
Okay. Students out there, first of all, currently I'm supervising students because I got my master's. I'm supervising, my first supervision are 4 honor students, transferring some of the knowledge which I had. We're working on an anti-malarial drug with them, using the same tactics to see if we can formulate a new molecule. I'm transferring knowledge for students. I'm also going to be supervising quite a lot of students across various institutions to transfer this knowledge. I'm going to be doing a lot of public lectures. I'm going to be visiting institutions to try to transfer this knowledge, both globally and locally. But to students out there, we're going to organize a Kiyonga Innovation Hub, because I won the EDHE overall award, and I don't want it to die with me. We're going to create a Kiyonga Innovation Hub where students with brilliant ideas or brilliant innovations will come and present for a grand prize money, which we'll announce soon. The winners of that Innovation Hub, I just need 3. Those 3 winners are going to be attached with me. I'm going to incubate them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to mentor them. I'm going to guide them so that they grow their businesses to higher levels. Another thing towards students, SME students, I say I'm available. I think you are an SME student. You see how approachable I am. You can come to me, ask me if there's anything you need, any mentorship and advice. I do get texts and inboxes every day from SME students asking about how they can grow their ideas, how they can do research, and I always answer them. I'm very much available. Also to encourage the students out there that if you have an idea, however small it is, that idea could be the change of this world. When I started my project, some people thought it was impossible or it was a small idea. They took it lightly until they saw it getting the impact it's having. That's when they saw that it's important. So sometimes you might have an idea in your head. It could be an imagination, but if you put it into practice, you will be blown by how much your idea can take you. The Bible says that God put eternity in the hearts of men. Imagine how much ideas God put in the hearts of men. The heart, when the Bible speaks of the heart, it's talking about the mind, the imagination. So God put every potential, every solution to every crisis in the hearts of men. The world is just waiting for men who are willing to come out and do something about it or speak about it. So every student out there, don't be shy, come out. Don't let anything stop you to come out. You don't need money. What you need is to come out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And
thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question, but you said something that led to another question that I was going to ask later.
Ask anything. Be free, my brother.
But let me start with this one.
Yeah.
We're going to start with the one that says, what about your life outside of academics and work?
Oh, okay.
What is your life like outside of academics and work?
Okay. Wow. Actually, you follow me on TikTok, right? You know that I love music. Particularly, I love reggae music from when I was young. I play piano. I play drums because I grew up in church. So growing up in church, I learned how to play music. You know, I play piano, drums. I compose some few songs. So outside of academic, I love music. I'm also into sports. I used to play football. I used to do boxing. I'm outside academics. I'm also let me not say a politician because I'm not a politician, but I'm an activist. So if there is a cause, a national cause, I always stand with the oppressed. For example, in SMU, I've served on the SRC for 2 years. I've been a student leader for a long time. I think I still continue to lead students. I'm very passionate about leadership. And I believe one day God will place me in a strategic position of leadership where we'll be able to influence policy and change the lives of our people. There are certain policies I don't agree with on the African continent. For example, access to healthcare. I don't believe healthcare should be something someone must pay for. I still believe that healthcare should be very accessible, and it shouldn't be that those who have money must live longer than those who don't have money. Everyone has a right to access healthcare. I believe education should be for free. I still don't believe education in Africa in 2025 or in this 21st century, people are selling or commercializing education. You find that institutions are excluding students because they are owing money, and only the rich now can access education. So I'm a very huge advocate for free education. By the way, I also formed part of the Fees Must Fall 2016. From 2015 2016, I was very active. SMU participated, and I was on the ground at Union Building during the Fees Must Fall riots. Very active. There are pictures of me and videos of me. It's in the record. So outside academics, I'm also a social activist. I believe in fairness. I believe in justice. And I believe this, our society, especially on the continent, we have not yet aligned well to the values which will benefit the future generations. We need to see change in our lifetime. They used to tell us when we were young that we are the future leaders. The future is now. And we must be able to lead now. So outside academics and drug innovation, I'm also a social activist. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. And the question that I wanted to ask when you mentioned about being approachable.
Yes.
I was like, how do you do it? Like, I see you every time, like,
yeah,
a very humble man, even though
thank you.
This big glamour around you. I mean, you just formulated a track. So
yeah.
Can you please like tell us like what keeps you humble and what keeps you associating with those who are considered low?
First of all, we are Christians, so we must illuminate the life of Christ. Christ was God. God who created the world in a human form, but he was very approachable. The Bible says God exalts the humble and he despises the pride. One of the attributes of greatness is humility. If you find some of the greatest people like Mandela, you'll be shocked when people tell you about him. He was very approachable. You find some of the greatest people are very approachable. So pride is one of the things which destroys greatness. And I'm happy to hear that you said I don't have pride. I'm very humble. I didn't know. I thought I'm very, I didn't know, but what keeps me also humble is my background. I'm from a poorly disadvantaged background. I grew up in the ghettos. I've grown up in a system of discrimination, segregation, where people desist you because of who you are, not because of what you've done. I've grown up in a system which has defined me for who I am. I mean, I didn't choose to be black. I didn't choose to be Ugandan. I didn't choose to be African. But you find out that the system segregates you because of who you are, not because you've done anything. You're a black man, therefore you're not allowed to have access to this. You are from a poor background, therefore you're not allowed to be in such places. So because of my background and my uplift, how I was raised, I learned how to be humble. And I promised God when I was still at the bottom of the bottom that if you ever raise me, I will always be accessible to such people. I'm still passionate about the downgraded, the discriminated among society, the hated. Those are my friends. So even if you can check now with this glamour, I don't see myself as someone who is too big. I see myself as an ordinary person who God has just put favor upon, and I want to remain humble. David said to God when he made a prayer, he said, don't make me too rich. Because if you make me too rich, I will forget you. Also, don't make me too poor. Because if you make me too poor, I will still forget you. So I want God to keep me in this humble state. Also, I'm a product of the community. The people raised me. SMU has raised me. Society has raised me. I'm not a product of wealth. Rich people never contributed anything to my life. It's these poor people, the downgraded, who've raised me to be where I am. So I cannot now change just because I invented a new drug. Now I must be too bossy. No. The rich actually rejected me. The rich desisted me. In fact, the system of the rich resisted me. I'm an outcast from that system. So even in my mind, I believe with the success which I believe God has put upon my life, I still need to remain with the same people who raised me, with the same downgraded people. As you know me, even in my activism, I always side with the oppressed. It's my principle. So yeah, that's what keeps me humble, and that's what keeps reminding me, Emmanuel, you were here, but go back. Remember, you belong there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And now I would like you, for someone that who maybe wants to do pharmacy, there are those maybe who are in other courses like you were before you were taking pharmacy.
Yeah.
What motivation would you give them, and also those who are still in school and considering pharmacy?
Yeah.
What motivation would you give them?
Oh, guys, everyone has got to test the course called pharmacy. That is one of the most brilliant courses ever, because pharmacy is not limited. Pharmacy is broad. That when you are a pharmacist, when you graduate as a pharmacist, you graduate with all the qualities. It means you can be in the clinical setting, you can be in the hospital setting, you can be in the hospital setting, you can be an entrepreneur, because they also teach you business. For example, I was shocked in third year where we did balance sheets. How to balance. I'm like, what are we doing with balance? We're pharmacists, but we're doing accounting. So pharmacy as a course is a broad course. It's a brilliant course. It's very easy. Those out there that are in metric, for example, if you want to do pharmacy, you need to do sciences. That is pure maths, physics, life sciences. Those are the top three, and English as a fourth one. A language, you can choose a first edition or a second edition. You can add LO as is there, but you need to do sciences. And right now, because the competition is high at SMU, get as much distinctions as you can. But if you can get your marks above 60 and 70 in these four subjects, you stand a very high chance of coming and doing pharmacy, to do pharmacy. Another advantage of pharmacy is when you are a second year pharmacist, you are a basic pharmacist assistant. So even if you drop out, you are a qualified basic pharmacist assistant. If you are a third year and upwards, you are a post-basic pharmacist assistant. And from those levels, you can even go in clinics or discam and work and get some extra cash, which we call locum. So it's a broad course. It's a very nice course. It's very wide. Yes, there is some struggles in terms of employment of pharmacists currently, but that's mostly lies more in the government sector, in the public sector. But in the private sector, there are opportunities for pharmacists out there. Also, you can be a research pharmacist like me, or a drug innovator. You can make new drugs. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now I'm thinking I should have done pharmacy. I had to think about different kinds when it comes to pharmacy. Like, can you differentiate for
the sectors?
Research pharmacy.
Yeah.
And what are the others, and what is the difference between them?
Okay. So pharmacy has, for example, clinical pharmacy. That's a specialty. With clinical pharmacies, you must at least do a master's of pharmacy in clinical pharmacy. Those are the ones which work in hospitals with doctors. So when you go to the wards in the ICU, you find a doctor and a clinical pharmacist to advise, no, this medication, this dose, because sometimes the doctors are overwhelmed. They need a clinical pharmacist who will guide them. Remember, pharmacists were the custodians of medicine. So anything to do with medicine and drug doses and the right interactions and everything, it's a pharmacist. Those are clinical pharmacists. There's what we call public health pharmacy. It's now a specialty as well. You can do a master's in public health. Those are the ones which promote health. I mean, patient compliance. They report drug adverse reactions. They make sure that the right medication is in the right wards. You know, when you go to the hospital, you are doing medicine. You're going to be a doctor. You always find drugs in the ward. Who puts them there? Have you ever asked yourself? You just find them there in the trolleys. Is the pharmacists. These are public health pharmacists. Their role is to make sure there is proper drugs in the wards. The patients receive the emergency medication and everything. Those are public health pharmacists. Also, they manage the pharmacy. Sometimes they are CEOs of hospitals. Then there's what we call radio pharmacists. Those ones deal with radioactive substances, oncology medication, drugs that are highly, very radioactive. Those are radio pharmacists. Then there is industrial pharmacists. Those are the ones who work in industries like Adcock, Aspen, Johnson and Johnson. They make drugs, they distribute drugs, they deal with also regulatory affairs. How to regulate, for example, if you buy a drug, right? There is a package insert inside which gives you instructions on how. That package insert is not by mistake. There are pharmacists behind it, because it must be in a language the public understands. And the same language they used on the public is not the same they must use on the doctor. For example, a doctor knows what TDS means 3 times per day. But you cannot tell a patient TDS You must tell them 3 times per day. So those are pharmacists that are behind that. Then the research pharmacists, which we fall in, we do research. We do focus on gaps in the pharmaceutical, in the health sector, and then we come up with solutions. We formulate new drugs. Pharmacy is broad, my brother, but I think I've broken it up a bit. There's also academic pharmacy now. Those are the teachers, the lecturers. They come, they confer pharmacy knowledge. But just to let you know, once you graduate with a B Pharm, you are like a complete package. You can work anywhere in these sectors. It's just that some sectors need speciality, like to be a clinician, a clinical pharmacist, you must specialize with a master's in pharmacy. Yeah.
Thank you for filling us with that. And right now, we want to ask you about your hard work.
Yeah.
And like what keeps you working so hard. And you mentioned that you were sleeping here.
Yeah.
Just so that you can get around and get to work.
Yeah.
So what keeps you like working that hard?
Growing up in poverty. When you grow up in poverty, you realize that you don't have so many opportunities. Remember, there are some people out there who've got, from when they are born, but now they have opportunities. Some maybe because of the colors of their skin, some maybe because of where they were born, some nationality. Some people always have certain opportunities attached to them just because of who they are. Maybe they were born in a rich family, the great-grandfather was whatever, then they have opportunities. Then there is the us, who you only get one opportunity in a lifetime. You find yourself in university, you don't even know how you got there, but you are there. And it's the only chance to break through from the system. So that is what keeps me working hard. Whenever I looked at my colleagues, for example, in university, I always don't see myself equal. I always see myself under. And then because people have bursaries, I don't have bursary. I don't know what it means to have, and I never knew what it means to have NSFAS. A simple thing like every month there is 1.5 for food, which comes. I must go hustle for my food. I don't know what it means to come in January and not go to for financial clearance and queue there. Please clear I'm owing. I didn't know all those things. So because of that background, I said, if I get a chance and I register, why would I go to sleep unless I get something which is going to last me, which is going to take me out of the situation? That's why I decided to sleep in the lab. That's why I decided to push, because I knew that if I do something extraordinary, it can be my breakthrough. Research is always has a breakthrough. I've read also about some of the greatest researchers who've taken themselves out of poverty through research. I've also learned that there's no one who's going to come to help you. You're going to have to help yourself. There's no system which is going to come to help you. The only thing which God has put in front of us is a platform to excel. So the best way to come out of the situation is by being excellent. What is excellence? Being diligent, being persistent, being disciplined. There's certain things I don't do. For example, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party. So in all those, and I'm a youth, giving up all those fun activities just to sleep in the lab, it had to pay off. So those are the things which motivated me to come and be here, sleep in the lab, because I was reaching out to something hidden. I was also reaching out. It was like a cry, a silent cry. When you are alone, you cry, but no one can see your cry. You scream, but within, so you get it. But God is the only one who can hear that silent cry, because he's the only one who can hear the cry of his inner man, that inner man within us, who cries, but people see you smiling, but you've got luggage and baggage and a heavy load upon your shoulder. So those are the things which motivated me. And I can tell you now that I've seen the results, and I've seen God in action, and I've seen the reward of my hard work. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great answer.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask now,
yeah.
If you have any role models, can you please share them with us?
Yeah.
The people that motivate you, like in the research field, like you were talking about the researchers that you've read about.
Yeah.
And so if there are those people, can you please share those people that motivated you?
Yeah, my first role model is myself. I'm the greatest role model for myself because the reason I'm saying that is not in a boastful way, but I always look at my life. My life is very documented. I always record, post, I think just like you. You're going to see yourself 10 years from now, the videos you were doing on TikTok. I always refer back to myself and how I've improved. One of my greatest role models is myself when I was in first year. That boy was the decision to come to varsity and leave out other things. That boy was focused. And even up to now, I still look up to that young Emmanuel Kiyonga. So myself at different stages of life is my first role model. I also love Julius Malema. I love Juju in the way he articulates things, in the way he views the world. He's my role model. I love how he talks, how he handles politics. I also have another role model in Uganda called Bobby Wine. I also love his, first he was a musician who now rose up to fame to contest for presidency. He's now the biggest opposition figure in Uganda, Bobby Wine. And I think you've seen some of my video on YouTube where I was singing some of his songs or imitating them. He sings a lot of political related social crises. So that's another role model which I look up to. I also look up to a lot of people. For example, my supervisors, Dr. Whitaker, Dr. Poker. I look up to Professor Yaya Chunara, great researchers out there. Yeah, I look up to a lot of people. But the most important role model is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, because the life of, I forget Jesus Christ as a religious figure. Study that man as a human, like as a historical figure. You get amazed. And if you look at how he was born in a crowd. He was raised by a carpenter. The Bible says there was nothing admiring about him. He was not handsome, as the pictures predict him to be. He was not well off. He spent most of his time with prostitutes, with thugs, with thieves. Those were his friends. He was under, even why he was killed because he said, I'm the son of God. Why would you kill me? Because I'm the son of God. So his persecution, and look at him. Whatever persecution he faced, he ended up wearing the crown and sitting at the right hand of the Father. So that's my greatest role model. His teachings, he says, when someone claps you on the left cheek, you give him the right cheek. If you know me very well, I never respond to critics. Usually when someone criticizes me or a group of people attack or criticize me, they hit themselves. I don't respond. Imitating the life of Christ. So Christ is my biggest, greatest role model. Thank you.
That's wonderful. And I really like that aspect. Thank you. I really like that aspect. And earlier on, you mentioned about that this track that you formulated was not the only one that you did, that you are working on tracks. So would you mind talking about that?
Others? Yes. We are working with so many drugs. This project of this drug is not my greatest project. There is a drug I'm working on for period pains. You know, there is no treatment of period pains out there. Young girls go through pain because of periods. And those same girls have to compete with the boys who have nothing. But boys don't face anything, no periods, nothing. But girls, so period pain, there is currently no medication. They are NSAIDs and some painkillers, but they are not specifically targeting. So we're working on a drug which, when you take it, it kills that pain. You are in periods, but you are not in pain at all. Imagine a world like that. So we're working on that drug. We're working on a drug for diabetes. We'll release it. We'll communicate to the public soon. An anti-diabetic drug. We're also looking into an anti-epileptic drug on how we can modify it. So most times we don't necessarily synthesize from scratch, but we can improve the current drug. Let's say Panado. And then the Panado we have has a low bioavailability. When you take it, it doesn't really heal the headache. We take that Panado, we try to modify it and see what can we do. And then suddenly the Panado is now optimally working. So those are some of the projects we're working with. Because of non-disclosure agreements, we won't release much to the public, but we just want to tell the public that they must be ready to be blown. So if there is an investor out there, where are the people to invest in? We're African, we're here, we're approachable, we're young, we're energetic, we're very visionary. You know, the Bible says in the last days, God will give visions to old people, and he will give what? To the young ones? Dreams. He will give visions to the young ones and dreams to the old. So it's a reverse. So we're young people with visions. I know old people are the ones who deserve visions because they are old, they know too much. But God has given us that knowledge as well. We're available. If there's an investor, come and invest in us. Actually, the only thing that's shorting currently to release these innovations out there is investment. If there's investment, we are going to fly quicker. Yeah.
That's wonderful. We can't wait for that. The world needs to get that.
Yeah.
So investors,
yeah,
you're out there.
Yeah.
This is your moment to invest in.
Come.
And yeah, like last thing, how would you motivate, not just someone who wants to do pharmacy, like someone in general, how would you motivate them to go about in life?
Yes. In life, remember, the life we're living has been already orchestrated by God. It's like a movie which is playing, but God has already seen the end. So as you live your life, whatever position you find yourself is a strategic position God has placed you. Most times you find yourself in a struggling situation, you find yourself in a tough situation, but it is God who strategically placed you there. And I've seen this, and this has been revealed to me by God, that every stage of my life was strategic. I can imagine some incidents or occurrences in my life where I was struggling and I asked myself, why? Can't it is God? For example, people at SMU know that it's one of the most, my entry into pharmacy was one of the most controversial entry into a course. People at SMU will tell you it was a big controversy. Everyone fought. Why is he going into pharmacy? He doesn't deserve pharmacy. There was a full student body meeting. For 2 hours, they discussed me. I was standing in front of the students. Explained why you entered pharmacy. Yes, it happened at SMU. Everyone fought why I entered pharmacy. They even wrote emails to council, to Senate. Comrades, powerful comrades, big comrades. I was still a young boy, but old guys like this, they were complaining. Why is he doing pharmacy? There was a question. You go to pharmacy, the school of pharmacy, there were people in the school, lecturers who were not happy about me doing pharmacy. One person told me, let me advise you nice, Emmanuel, why don't you drop out from pharmacy? You'll come back next year. Some old person advised me to drop out of pharmacy. So I asked myself, why? Then now it makes sense why. Because God knew that I will invent a drug. And that's why people were fighting. So when you find yourself in certain situations, sometimes it's a group of people fighting. I've been in SMU for so many years. I've seen people uniting to fight me. I'm sure you're an SMU student. You've seen some of the posts. Someone can come and write a paragraph about you, but it's all orchestrated. For example, the breakthrough, the news to breakthrough, it was because of a propaganda. Someone wrote a propaganda about me for a bad intention. But that propaganda reached ICAS economy on Twitter. And the guy was touched. And then he wrote a nice about me. Then it broke through now across the continent and everywhere. So when you find yourself in a tough situation, just know that it's orchestrated by God. Also, do not give up. What do I mean by don't give up? Let me be clear. If you have an imagination or an idea, that idea is not there by coincidence. God has already resourced it. Pursue your dream, because people out there have not done anything in their lives. But they want to tell you how now you must live your life. Oh, you cannot make it. It's impossible. You know, there are 3 words I don't want to hear. Number 1, there's nothing we can do to help you. I've heard that word so much. That means there is something which God can do. Once someone tells you there's nothing we can do to help, that means there is something which God can do. Number 2, it's not possible. It's not possible. Number 3, no, this doesn't belong to you. This is not for you. So once you find yourself in a tough situation, do not give up. Pursue. Also, stop pursuing things which are possible. Or don't you pursue things which are not possible. Things out of this world. No, if you can check my life, I've always gone for impossible things. When you tell me, hey, it's not possible to, that's the thing I want. The one which is not possible. I don't want possible things. So pursue, go for greatness. God has put greatness in your heart. Go for greatness, pursue greatness. You are going to be great. Don't allow anybody to deceive you. God created you in his image, but not just in his image, after his likeness. And how is God like? God gets challenged by two things, two prayers. Prayer number one is what? God, help me. And God, forgive me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That was a wonderful interview. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll be putting this up on YouTube soon.
Okay.
And be sure to watch, be sure to like and subscribe, and go follow Emmanuel Kiyonga on TikTok. It's Emmaceutics.
Emmaceutics,
Emmaceutics, by the name of his pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
So go check him out and keep on supporting his visions and his ideas, because these are mind-blowing ideas and they're going to change the world.
Yes.
I believe that they're going to change the world.
Amen.
So let's support him, keep him in your prayers. So let's go. Thank you.
Thank you.